How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. Think like an attacker. No more. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts.
This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And today, it's kind of a slow news day, I guess you could say. But like yesterday, I think the real news is what's kind of happening behind the scenes a little bit. I think that these judges keep proving that they're out of control and they have too much power. And I don't think that the power they have is being utilized for checks and balances in government. Their power is only to appease the special interest, and in this case, communists, I believe, that are in this country. And also, I don't know why the flag is so controversial. I mean, I can't figure that out. Anyway, we're going to talk about these things and more. And we're going to hear from Dave Robinson on Skype in just a minute. Let's get started. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. Kaboom, pal. Okay, I know you guys are probably getting sick of that. I may change that trailer up just a little bit. There is a lot more to that book than just learning to think like an attacker. The fact is, if you're sending your daughters off to college, they need to know this because it is empowering, and it's going to teach them what they need to know to identify the critical areas in their lives, the critical times for those areas, for those sectors. We'll call them sectors, all right, the areas of your life, the critical areas of that life, the critical times for those areas, the vulnerabilities that these attackers will exploit to get to you. Like, do you have to walk from this building on college campus to that building, and there's happens to be a dark area in between there with bushes? You need to be able to identify that as a vulnerability that you can't get around. And that's what attackers do. That's why they're always in those type of areas. You can look for those areas. You can look for the times that those areas are most dangerous. Not necessarily going to be as dangerous at 5 o'clock in the afternoon as it would be at 8 o'clock at night in the winter. And so the vulnerability there would be the vulnerability that you have to go that way. There's no other way for you to go. See, that's what the vulnerability you have to understand is things that you may be able to change. Okay, maybe that's a vulnerability because that's a shortcut. And so a lot of people go through that way. So attackers will look at those things. And then what is the attacker's avenue of approach? Are they going to wait till you walk by to grab you? Are they going to step in front of you and confront you like this? The more you think about all these different things and you divide your life up into these sectors, and then you read through how I laid out how an attacker thinks, what an attack is, how you develop a target package, and then how you turn around and effectively defend. And that's another thing in this book, because I give incredible examples of failures of defenses and some case studies of people that I've actually trained in this, and then they went out and did some amazing things as well. That's what this book is all about. That's why you should pre-order it now. So when it comes out in December, on December 12th, you immediately will get this book and be able to share it with all the people in your life. Everybody should be reading this book. Women, men, teenagers, people in church, people who run stadiums and arenas, people who go to sporting events. Promoters should be looking at this, and on and on. The President of the United States should be looking at this. Celebrities, people who protect celebrities. I could go on all day. Basically, everybody needs to read it so you can increase your awareness and so that you can avoid attacks and know what to do if you get caught up in one. And here's the other thing. I keep pointing this out. The more people that buy it, the higher it goes up on the bestseller list, and that means more people are going to be drawn to it, so they will get it, and the more empowered people will be. That's all about empowering people. Okay, enough about that. What I want to talk about today, and I'm going to bring, we're going to get into the stuff about the judges here in just a minute and the flag, but I wanted to bring on Dave Robinson. I'm assuming that he's on, so I'm going to reach out to him real quick, and I want to talk to him because he went through one of these major events there in West Virginia. I had him on a couple of weeks ago before, as the stuff was going on in Houston. So let me see if I can call him real quick. Let me plug this in here. Let's see if he answers. Dave, are you there? I'm not seeing Dave Robinson. All right, let me text him real quick. I got all kinds of communication here. Boom, shakalaka, boom. Well, if he doesn't answer, we'll call him back and we'll go ahead and get started. But I want to jump on that as quickly as possible because I've talked to people today that are in the area. I'm not saying it's a mistake, but a lot of people, because it's not a direct hit, they think that they're going to be fine. You got to remember storm surges, flooding, all these types of things. No answer from Dave Robinson. Okay. We'll call you back, Dave. So let's go on. What I'm going to do is we'll go to the A block, and we're going to talk about these judges. Then we'll come back and talk with Dave maybe towards the end of the show if he's around. Let's see if he... I'll try him one more time. Stand by. I don't know what it's doing now. All right. There it goes. Let's see here. Trying one more time. Drink a coffee. And for those of you tuning in, the long... Oh, there he is. I don't see you.
Hang on. Can you hear me?
Ah, there you are. Turn your camera sideways if you can. Can you do that? Oh, perfect. Good Lord. I've got beard envy now. Okay, let's get you over here.
Hang on a second. Can you hear me?
Oh, we got you loud and clear. Let's see.
Trying to get this thing straight. The floor is crooked in here.
That beard is out of control.
What's that?
The beard, it's out of control.
Oh, you just wait. Hunting season ain't even started yet.
You and Ron Belland, you're like having a competition. Let me brighten this up a little bit. Let's see here. How do I get down there? Oh, that's perfect. Bingo.
Do you not have yours on?
I have it covered up because it's going to show up on the screen right here.
I just had to uncover mine.
So, let me see here. Perfect. That's perfect, man. Look at that background,
Right
by the
on.
way. Yeah, I know it doesn't quite come out because we're actually we're getting a new camera. I probably shouldn't be saying that yet, but Jim DeLong came through for us again, and we're gonna have a new camera. So let me see if I can affect this by doing that a little bit. See if I can get the camera to adjust to the lighting. No.
What the heck? Are you making popcorn over there?
What's that, me?
Yeah, I keep hearing something popping.
No, that's not me. That's the tech liberal techies at Facebook or Twitter probably. Okay, so once I get past this beard, so what do you think is important for people to realize when it comes to what they're getting ready to face? Because down in Florida now, we had it in Texas, but what I'm afraid of in Florida is that people are going to be they're not in the direct line of the eye, so they think, okay, I'm going to be fine. But the storm surges, we talked about this about a week and a half ago. Just real quick, tell people the reality of when you wade in that water, what's underneath.
I can barely hear you.
Hold on a second here. Is that any better? You got me now?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
Tell everybody the reality of what's happening underneath the water, for one, when they go wade in it, and how dangerous these surges are of water.
Well, you never know what's underneath of there. I mean, you could have down power lines underneath of there. There's you have storm graced manhole things that are just that have been blown off because so much water pressure can get underneath those. They can lift that lid right off. You could step right up underneath that, and there's no getting out.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't know. It's hard. You never know what's underneath there because everything that those waves come in and those lines of water come in, just tearing down fences, tearing down buildings. Everything is right underneath of you. You step on a nail or some boards like that, and you get tetanus or anything up on, those nails stabbing you in the feet.
And the current is bad under there.
Yeah. Oh my Lord. Yeah. Because it's just that much mass of water. I mean, you know how it is when you're in the ocean. You could be waist high, but when those waves just kind of come in, it just that much mass of water it'll carry you away.
Yeah,
it can carry your car away. I mean, you only need like 2 feet of water, but that much of it going lift your car and take it away.
Wow. So,
driving through it's a terrible idea too.
Now, how do you think people that live in these areas, of course, everybody wants to get a snowblower after a massive snowstorm, right? They never want to get the snowblower before.
But you have the.
Go ahead.
So you just have to take into account the area where you live. You just talk about with your books to putting your mindset into the mindset of someone who's trying to attack you, and you look for it all around. That's the same sort of mentality when you're trying to prep for something. Is look for just the weather patterns for where you live. If you constantly have snowstorms, you need to prepare for that. You've got to have an auxiliary way of keeping you warm. Don't just count on one way.
One is none,
food.
two is one.
Say it again.
One is none, two is one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, things you want to stock away food that's not going to go bad, for at least 3 days worth, because it's probably going to take at least 72 hours. So after the storms, whether you have a flood or blizzard or whatever, it's going to take them at least 72 hours. Once the action of it is settled down, for them to get their act together and just to regroup to really start trying to help people out.
Yeah.
So whatever you're living in, if you live in a place where there's tornadoes, or you live where you're constantly, like in Florida, where they constantly have these hurricanes, or up here we have a lot of snowstorms. Even up there where you live, I mean, I don't know if you guys get a lot of power outages from these snowstorms, but I remember a few years back y'all had some pretty heavy blizzards.
We don't necessarily in the city where I live, but in the rural areas they do, which leads me to the other question I have for you. When it comes to reacting in that situation, so you were caught up in a flood that wasn't expected when it happened, and these people that are waiting out the storm, they're thinking they're probably going to make it. But when crisis happens, just tell everybody, because you actually got hit by this, when you're in it and you're not really prepared for, in your case, it was the surge of water under you and the temperature of the water. Tell people the reality, how if they don't prepare their mind, how dangerous that is. Because when you're caught off guard, it's going to be hard to think clearly.
Yeah, I mean, with this storm they have coming down there now, they have plenty of notice, so people should be getting out of there. But I realize a lot of people may not, maybe financially they can't get out, because I seen an interview with one man to where he said he only had a quarter tank of gas where he's going to go. He couldn't fill up his gas tank, and the roads and things were already very congested. So if they're going to try to wait this out, I don't know what to tell them. It's
but
I've never been through anything like what these guys have coming
but for
down there now.
The people that can get out, I'm trying to relay to them that if they think they're going to deal with it when it gets there, that's the wrong way to look at it, because you can't wait to react.
If you haven't stored up enough provisions of things, to make it through this, if they're in a place they're not going to be flooded out, if their home's flooded, then they're just doomed. If you're going to sit out there and wait on the roof and wait for somebody to come and save you, that's a bad idea. That's,
right.
Your initial play. You sound a whole lot better now. I can hear you. A situation comes up like this, your plan needs to be just to get out.
Right.
And maybe if they just plan, the only advice I'd have is to plan ahead of time is if you have gas in cans, it's just set aside just for this.
Yeah. Same thing with canned food or waterproofed clothes in a bag. I mean, something. I guess the whole point I'm trying to make here is that when you find yourself in a situation like you did where you had to go get your daughter, if somebody does not have the right mindset, they're going to get swept away from that water just because they freak out because it's so scary.
Oh, yeah. And that whole flood and everything kind of caught everybody off guard, and I don't think anybody who was really ready for it. I was just lucky that where my house is set, and I'm on high ground. My parents' place is on high ground. I just had to go through the waters to get to where she was. But that just kind of goes to where I was saying, take into account where you live and what the weather's been there before, and you prep for that, whether it's snow. I tell you now, a lot of people around here are kind of ready if that was to happen again. Their houses are houses are built differently.
Yeah.
That they rebuilt. A lot of people are picking up boats who didn't have boats before, and just stocking up on the things that they realize that they need. Protect themselves, with their keeping their valuables high,
Right.
on the high ground of their house, whether you stick it in the attic or whatever, just to keep it out of water, just smaller things, people have learned from it. But that's the biggest lesson anybody can take from it, is to just, to take into account, know your enemy, in the sense your enemy being this weather coming, that whether it's snow, tornadoes, hurricanes, or whatever.
Yeah. It's interesting. I just saw somebody on Twitter said they heard there was going to be 50-foot waves. So there was this guy on Facebook that put I don't know who this guy is, but he's kind of like an amateur weather guy, and he did this whole thing showing that the waves, how big the waves were going to be, and saying that it was not going to hit Florida, it was going to skirt Florida and go straight towards South Carolina and North Carolina, and that's what's happening. And I was reading some of the comments, and people were like, don't listen to this guy. He used to work at Walmart, and he said, just trying to scare people. But it's actually coming to fruition what this guy said.
Right.
I think it's totally catching people off guard that it's going to kind of turn a little bit and go up that. If it skirts up that coast just right, you're going to be looking at 1,000 miles worth of severe damage.
Yeah, everybody thinks that they're going to make it through until it comes. It's always, worse when it actually happens. You think, well, how bad can it usually be? And then, halfway through this, when the water's rising in their living room or their roof's blowing off of their house, you begin to realize that you made a pretty poor choice.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. The Cajun Navy may be coming, maybe going east.
I tell you, those guys have been everywhere. They was up here when things were going down with those.
Who are they? I never even heard of them before.
Me neither. But I tell you, thank God for them. They were up here in those fan boats, and we had people missing and everything else. And
wow, I got to find out who these people are and have them on. That's pretty. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, they're an awesome lot of guys. I tell you, those fan boats, they ain't no joke. Well, they got around in just places where nobody else could get to.
And all those guys who probably got made fun of for all those years about having monster trucks, and now they're they're heroes.
Well, I mean, it's those guys, like you say, got made fun of for years. It's the same way as like a lot of preppers and things like that. Everybody wants to
exactly
lump you in being the tinfoil hat club until something like this happens, and you realize, well, they're not necessarily prepping for the zombie apocalypse. It's for just whatever can possibly happen. Your power being out a few days.
Yeah.
Not being able to get the food.
Let's combine that with the whole reality of, for years and years I've been saying that communism was on the rise and nobody wanted to believe me, and now look, not only is it on the rise, but Antifa is made up of a bunch of weirdo, skinny little, have you ever noticed that they haven't killed anybody with their punches?
I don't think they, unless they get 100 of them together, or can very much even black an eye, unless they hold one of their sticks or throw in a bottle or whatever. And that's another group of people who are prepared for what's coming.
Yep.
They're poking a bear.
That's why they're able to do what they do, because they're better prepared.
Yeah, well, they're better organized.
Yeah, and better funded.
But they're not prepared for the consequences of what their actions can potentially lead to.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about this in just a second, but the problem with this whole thing is going to be that law enforcement, if it ever got to that point, law enforcement and people in the military, they're going to have to choose. Do you do you really truly protect the Constitution, or do you arrest people? That's going to be what I'm talking about. That's going to be the problem.
Right.
If constitutional loving, just good-hearted Americans fought against people like Black Lives Matter and Antifa the way they fight against us, they go kill cops or they beat people up. If we did that in mass, the good cops are going to have to take a stand and either say, listen, you guys are going outside of the bounds, we're going to have to arrest you, or they're going to have to say, screw this, I'm trying to protect the Constitution just like these people. There's gonna be
right.
If it gets to that, it's gonna be a sticky situation. It's gonna make what happened in Oregon look like, nothing. And I said that the people in Oregon were in the wrong by the way they did it,
right.
not for why they did it. But you see what happened there. They lost.
Right.
So
that was a little different situation because they were kind of bucking the government that they had going on there. If you have people like that rising up against like these Antifa groups, Black Lives Matter, and things like that, I don't know, it's still going to be a pretty hairy situation just because you just can't take the law in your hands and just start beating these guys as much as I would like to.
The problem is the law is not taking the problem into their hands. That's a problem I have about it.
Well, it's their leadership, the local governments and the state governments who, put the shackles on the law enforcement that they can't do anything about it.
Well, because they all belong to one of these two corrupt political parties.
Right.
See, here's exactly what we figured out in this little short interview. It's not climate change that's responsible for the hurricane. It's our two-party system. That's responsible for it. Bunch of freaking criminals and communists. All right, you got anything else?
No, sir. That'll do me.
I think your beard grew while you were talking.
It's a full moon tonight. Don't take much.
All right, well, I'll let you get back there to the other room where you got all your Barbies hanging out. And
I hide them under my beard.
Dave Robinson, everybody, my West Virginia field reporter. All right, Dave. Later, my friend.
Later, bye.
All right, there you go, folks. Now, let's go to – now I hope that helped everybody. I hope that helped a little bit with understanding of how you can protect yourself and what to expect in some of these things. Man, I hate that I have to keep changing this. Let's see here. Hold on. There you go. So one of these days I'll have this all fixed up where I don't have to mess around and do all this stuff. But I hope that helps people understand that these situations are serious. And if you wait until you're in it, you may actually get yourself in a position where you don't know how to act and you may panic. And if you do, and your feet get swept out from under you, like if you're in the water, or in Dave's case, he was going to get his daughter, and he had to walk her through the water, and the water kept getting deeper and deeper to the point where he had her over his head, and the water was up to here, and he said it was like trying to take his legs out from under him. He didn't expect that, or how cold the water was. If you are not a strong-willed person, you very well could lose your life and your kid's life for that matter. So let's go to the A block, and let's talk a little bit about these activist judges. And again, I apologize, but we're going to play the trailer again just so everybody gets make sure they see it. Let's do it. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. All right, so the activist judges. I got here. I saw today. Let's see where I think I have it down here. Let me pull this up here. This was on FoxNews.com. It says here that the Trump travel ban was rejected by the Court of Appeals. Now, here's the problem with the Court of Appeals that we're talking about. It's all full of activist judges. So basically they're looking at, oh, you can't even see this at all. I don't know why I have it up there. Let me pull this down. You're not going to be able to see it. Until I get the point where I can adjust this, it's not going to be worth anything. The Federal Court of Appeals, that's the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, okay? So these decisions are going from an activist judge in Hawaii who put limitations on the president's executive order putting a halt on immigration from certain Muslim countries where it is believed or proven that some of these terrorist hotbeds are at, or where it's like an entryway for a lot of these different fundamental Islamic jihadists to come in through. There was a judge that was Obama's roommate or suite mate or classmate in Hawaii when he went, or not in Hawaii, but when he went to college. And I don't remember which one it was. But this went before the Federal Appeals Court, the Ninth Circuit Court, and they simply stated the government does not offer a. This is gonna, if it's like me, this is gonna burn you up when you see this. Does not offer a persuasive explanation for why a mother-in-law is clearly a bona fide relationship in Supreme Court. Blah blah blah. Let me see here. But grandparents, grandchildren, aunt, uncle, niece, nephews, or cousin is not. So in other words, what they were saying is that could you explain to me, this is what Judge Richard Paez said, could you explain to me what's significantly different between a grandparent and a mother-in-law, father-in-law? Paez asked, what is so different about those two categories? One said, one is in and one is out. Well, those are huge differences because, for one, grandparents are blood related, and in the case of depending on who they're piggybacking on or why they were married, for instance, San Bernardino, where it was strictly a marriage so that they could get jihadists over here, well, that's a huge thing because now, let's say you bring somebody over for the sheer fact, maybe you're not an attacker, all right? Maybe you're a breeder, and that's what they do. They'll bring people over here, they'll breed. And I'm saying breeding because human beings reproduce, and I'm not equating Muslims to being animals, but these jihadists are. And they think just like animals. So they come over and they will reproduce so that they can make mini jihadists. They do the same thing in the Middle East, and Muslims in the Middle East are suffering because of this. Whereas people are spending their young adults' lives getting educations, bettering themselves, bettering their communities over there. You have these poor and a lot of them illiterate people who are drawn into their mosques, and they're, I say fundamentalized, not radicalized, they're fundamentalized. And then they insist that they have more and more kids, and then those kids grow up, which has happened here in the case of the past 16 years, they grow up in a war zone. You literally are producing jihadists over there. That's what they're doing. And so let's say it's somebody who comes over here with that intent. There's no intent there to shoot them up. There's no intent to destroy themselves. But they come over for the sheer purpose of breeding other jihadists. Well, if that's the case, and then you allow the grandparents to come over, and they belong to the same, excuse me, not the grandparents too, but the parents or the father-in-law, the mother-in-law, when this marriage is only to get people over here. Now, not only did you have a marriage of convenience that's a lie to get people over here, that's a federal offense, but now you did it and you're actually bringing other people based on that lie. That is also a felony that we could never prove. But the fact is, you could start having people piggyback. The whole family could be bad. Here's the point. We need to stop looking, which these idiots that are judges somehow that became judges, we need to stop looking at whether or not what somebody's relationship to one person or another. It's this unbelievably simple. Come up with standards to come to this country. If you don't meet those standards, you don't come to this country. It's that simple, folks. The State Department is so full of liberals and so full of, and liberals get pulled into this. I know I've talked before and had people say, don't just milk liberals into leftists. I'm not. I know there's a difference. My good friend Rick Unger, I talk about all the time. He's liberal, but he's not a communist. However, Liberals have to realize you're suffering the same problem that good Muslims are suffering when it comes to the cancer in Islam. The fundamentals of Islam. You go back and you look at Muhammad. You look at their stories. You look at not just the scriptures that they have, but also go look at the stories. Right? You look at these things, the traditions that they have. It goes back to conquering. It goes back to domination and movement. Not just stagnant. Not just like we're going to own this place. Islam has always been on the move to grow. People need to realize this, because those people that live like that and live with that mindset are going to be a cancer to the other Muslims that are trying to effectively assimilate in a country, or that just don't have any dog in this fight. Liberals need to realize the same thing is going on there. Okay, so you have some ideas that lean this way or lean that way. You need to realize that just because somebody says they're a Democrat doesn't mean that you should just follow what that person says. And so what's happening with these judges and with these individuals in the State Department that are just liberal, they're following right along with the narrative, not really realizing what's actually happening. And these activist judges, these activists in the State Department, these activists that are working in the White House and in the National Security Council and on the DOJ and the FBI and all these other branches, the CIA, the NSA, all those liberals who wouldn't necessarily say we need to overthrow the government and put in a communist government, they are associating with those people, and they are, in effect, empowering the communists, the Antifas, the Black Lives Matter, the by all means necessary idiots, whatever you want to call them. Liberals need to realize, and I just wish we could stop using these terms liberal and conservative, and just start using, is it effective or is it not effective? Okay, we got 4 effective ideas that are really effective, not just a narrative. Effective for a solution, not just effective to follow a narrative. If the people just said, okay, we got a tax problem. Our taxes are out of control. What am I hearing in the background? That's interesting. If we just said, listen, we've got a problem, okay, and this needs to be fixed. What are the effective solutions? Give me 3. This is what we do in the military. Give me 3 concepts of operation. Give me 3 ways to fix this problem, and let's pick the best one. If that's the way solutions were gathered in the government, we wouldn't have problems. We would have solutions. You got an issue? Let's solve it. Give me 3 concepts of solution. Let's look at them, monitor them. What's the long-term effect, the short-term effect, and let's make a decision and go with it. If that's the way government worked, instead of just constantly looking at these special interests and what's best for me and what's best for my friend or what's best for the person with the same color skin, if we just concentrate on what was effective, we wouldn't have any of these issues. And we could just get rid of liberal and conservative. But for the meantime, what people need to realize is that if you're liberal and you work in the State Department, you might want to start distancing yourself a little bit from these activists. The same thing with the court systems. We can work out whether or not you love Trump or hate him down the road. He's not destroying anything like people think, okay? But I take it you may not like him. You may not like his intentions or his personality, whatever. Trump is the least of our worries. The biggest problem we have is with the communists taking over and for people blindly following them. That is a big problem. Neo-Nazis are a problem, but they're not the big problem. I can guarantee you, folks, the neo-Nazi problem is so minute that if they said we want to go on a rampage, not only would law enforcement be able to wrap that up in a couple of weeks, but the majority of citizens in this country, myself included, would stand against those dirtbags, and we would eliminate them like that. This is not the case with the communist movement. They are more well-funded than most militaries in this world. They have more equipment, better planning, and unity. They're all a bunch of idiots, as you can see, because nobody in their right mind is going to want what they want. But you empower them when you follow their narrative. So that's where I'm getting at with all this. Forget what these idiot judges are doing. I mean, these judges should be locked up for conspiracy to overthrow the government, because that's what they're doing. We should start focusing on the fact that they are killing any type of effective ideas. And the reality is, I didn't like this travel ban to begin with. It doesn't make any sense to me, because those bad guys can just go to another place to get to this country. So it's not really, they are organized and they have money. They're going to be able to shuffle. If they want to get a jihadist in this country, they're going to be able to do it. Okay? Unless the government says that you have to have a valid phone number that can be tracked for 10 years. You have to have an address that can be checked out. You have to have, if you have a police record, you're not coming here. If you have, and I don't know all the reality of all the answers to this, but if the government had a system in place that really looked at the same type of a background check as I went through when I was going into the government, to where they really find out who you are, and if you don't meet those standards, you don't come here. There's nothing unfair about that. But this travel ban of let's stop the people from here and there, it doesn't answer the question. So we got two problems. We got activist judges, and we have government officials that are briefing the president and helping him come up with these policies that don't want to fix the problem. Let me look at what you guys are saying. I love this. Jody says, left wing, right wing, same bird. I couldn't have said it any better. That's exactly right. It's the same. They should just the same crap bird. That's all it does is fly around, doesn't even lay eggs. It just poops everywhere. That's the government. Doesn't matter if it's left wing or right wing. Let's see what you got on Facebook. All right. Let's talk about the flag for a second while we still got people on here. And look, the numbers are pretty good. It's going to take a while to adjust to get people over. I can't see on here on Twitter exactly how many people we got, though. Let me pull that up on my phone real quick. Hold on. Let's see here. I'll go ahead and go to the B block. Stand by. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. All right. The B block. So let me close this out. Get this Judge Cancer stuff off my freaking computer before it infects my computer with a virus. So there's a high school that reverses a flag ban after students protest. The ban was that they weren't going to allow anybody to have, students are not allowed to display a flag or banners from their vehicle while parked in the Ricori High School parking lot. But after demonstration, the school agreed to allow the American flag, but it would not allow other flags that might cause other students to feel threatened or uncomfortable or unsafe. So what is going on with this country where, let's say somebody who has Mexican heritage or Puerto Rican heritage, this is New York, okay, first of all, I don't know where this school was. This was in Minnesota, I guess? Yeah, Minnesota. Obviously, they don't know what it's like to for here in this state, where there's Puerto Ricans everywhere, there's Italians everywhere, there's Koreans everywhere, there's Americans everywhere. I mean, it's a melting pot here in New York, and if you were to tell Puerto Ricans here that you can't fly your flag in your car, there would be a massive riot. What is the problem with people wanting to fly a flag of something that's their heritage? whether it's the American flag or Mexican flag or Puerto Rican flag. The only flags that should not be flown are ones like a white supremacist flag, like a neo-Nazi, a fascist communist flag like Antifa, Black Lives Matter, by all means necessary. Those groups should not be allowed to fly a flag. They definitely cause fear and intimidation, usually used for a political aim. That's called terrorism. So they should not be allowed to fly those flags. And that's okay to put up a policy for that. Look, I believe in freedom of speech wholeheartedly. I believe in the First Amendment. But I don't believe that when a group shows that it wants to subvert and change the government. See, here's the difference. When I say that the political parties in this country need to be overthrown, what I'm saying is that people need to take them back. And we need to have a revolution to go back to the Constitution, to the original Constitution, the way it was. I'm not talking about before all the amendments were in there, but to be originalist, to actually live and abide by the Constitution, not change it and manipulate it so it fits your communist ways. But other groups that want to subvert the Constitution, I don't think that should be protected under the First Amendment. And if you look at it that way, if your government turns into a tyrannical government here in the United States, and we stand by the First Amendment, we should be able to go against them. There's no problem with that. But if you are trying to subvert, to change the Constitution, that should not be covered by the First Amendment. There are just certain things that should not be covered. That's one. Just like you run into a theater and yell fire, that's not going to be covered by the First Amendment. It's the same thing here. I don't think burning the flag should be covered by the First Amendment. See, these are all decisions that were made by these corrupt judges and have not only confused good law-abiding citizens into thinking, yeah, you should be able to burn the flag because of your First Amendment. There's nothing in burning the flag that says anything about speech. And that's what that's all about. It doesn't say anything in the First Amendment about protecting your right. It says to assemble, but not to assemble, beat people up, use fear and intimidation to try to cause the citizenry to turn against the Constitution. There is nothing in the First Amendment that says that should be protected. So I see this as a big problem, folks. And although it seems like it's a slow news day, when I see these stories, I see the reality of what's happening. And, it's funny, the headline right here on FoxNews.com. Let me see here. Let me pull this up over here. I don't know if you can see this or not. It says right here, anyway, you can't see it, but it says, "We can't save you." Florida governor urges residents in Irma's path to get out before it's too late. Listen, if I've heard anything that parallels with what we're talking about tonight, it's what the governor just says there. The government can't save us. The people are going to be the only ones that save themselves in this country. Period. How do you like how I connected those dots? Now, I'm going to leave you this before I get out of here. Trump haters, Trump haters have been going online begging Irma to destroy Mar-a-Lago. What kind of weirdos are these people? Melania has been snubbed because Michelle Obama was made MAG's best dressed list, but Melania didn't. You see, these are just blatant, petty things that people do that to me just show the weakness of the left. I don't get it. You didn't see this happening with Barack Obama because people would have been called racist, and maybe not rightfully so. Let's just say they hated the president for his politics. If they would have done something like this, they would have been called racist. Well, people are going to have to understand eventually in this country, it doesn't matter if it's racism, bigotry, sexism, homophobia, cat lovers. It doesn't matter what the hate is. And I tried to have this argument with people after the debate with people, not argument, after the incident that happened in Charlottesville. They kept saying because the white supremacists were there, they were worse. And it's not a case of worse. When groups get together and hate, it's bad. When they take action, you can't rank one versus the other. Communism is responsible for over 150 million deaths in this century, in the past 100 years. 150 million deaths. Neo-Nazis are responsible for, I don't know, they say 6 to 12 million, somewhere around in there. I mean, you can't really, most young people don't even know who Mao was. They don't know anything about Stalin, Pol Pot. They don't even know who those people are because they don't teach history the way it should be taught. You can't rank hate when it goes to the level of inhuman killing like this, where it goes to the fact of genocide. Look at the Armenians, 1.5 million Armenians killed 101 years ago in Turkey by Islamic fundamentalists that were trying to create a caliphate there, an Islamic state. What I'm trying to say here is, when you look at this stuff online about the ridiculousness of this petty hatred, what you start to see is a mindset that if things got further and if Antifa started killing people, some of these people, a good example of this is when that congressman got shot. There were people that were, I don't know if they were okay with it, but they really weren't all that, like, there was a lot of people coming out after that saying Republicans should beware. They were jumping on the bandwagon with this. Guys, some Democrat over in New Jersey, you had other politicians that just wouldn't condemn it. And they were trying to make it sound like you got what you got. And there's going to be more of it. When you subscribe to this kind of petty hatred, when the fact is, the majority of people don't even know what it takes to run the government. They don't even understand the reality of who's subverting them. They don't even really realize the way that the Democrats and the Republican Party elitists work together and how they are entrenched so deeply that they've literally surrounded the president. And quite frankly, the president's in a lot of trouble because now Mueller is communicating with the Attorney General of the state of New York, and Trump cannot pardon himself from state charges. So even if Mueller has nothing there, or even if he does and Trump pardons himself, he's going to hand that stuff over to the state attorney general in New York. I can almost guarantee if he could get to Florida, he would, but he can't because she's a Republican. But in New York, the attorney general does not like President Trump, and I can guarantee you if they have something, they're going to charge him in New York. There's going to be a problem, folks. The problem is coming. Just remember that. What else we got? Anything? All right. I got to make the most of this. I started the show just a little bit about after 8. It's now 9 o'clock, so the show will replay. But remember, spread the word. We're going to start coming on at 8 o'clock now for the time being, so that we can figure out how this is going to work. I hate the fact that I'm eating into Ron Bellin's time. I'm going to have to work that out with him somehow. But 9 o'clock just wasn't working for me, just not working. So, and I don't think it was working for the numbers either. So we'll have to get these numbers back up. We'll see how this plays out. Anyway, GoFundMe, it's right there on the bottom of the page. GoFund.me/The Experts Roadshow. Some people responded yesterday when I said, don't forget about that. Folks, I know that I'm pushing the book. The book's $10. You could buy, I don't know, 10 of those books. You know, I'm not going to make any money off those books for until next year. And that money that I make, you all should realize this. The money that I make on the GoFundMe page or the money that I make when I work goes to this. This is my life. This is this show, and all the social media stuff that I do is to continuously get you all together to work together. It's the way that I'm serving now. And we have to continue to work towards this. And if I'm doing my part and you all are showing up every day, that you're doing your part, we're going to have to – listen, I'm giving of my money. Every penny I've got has gone into this. About the only clothes I ever buy anymore are white T-shirts, because everything I got either goes into this or Rico for some strange reason, or upkeep on the truck. So don't forget about the GoFundMe page. I'm pushing the book tremendously, but don't forget, it's right there at the bottom of the screen, gofund.me/The Experts Roadshow. I keep saying, if everybody donated $50, I would not even mention the GoFundMe page until next year. But I can't get people to realize this. If 2,000 people donated $50 each, we won't have to fund this show until next year. We got almost 3,000 people on the Friends of Jonathan T. Killian page. Everybody should be donating that. And I came up with $50 because I think the majority of people can afford to drop $50 one time. So somebody asked, what's better than a fresh white T-shirt? I'll tell you. A fresh white T-shirt that has been dried heavily so that it custom fits you. And I learned that from some of the guys in the SEAL teams. At the Navy bases, they said you don't click the dryer once for heat. You click it twice so it bakes that shirt into a custom fit shirt. Let's see what we got. All right. I think Jim DeLong wants to say something real quick. Hold on 1 second here. Make it short, Jim, because I got stuff I got to do. Hold on. Hello. Can you hear me? You there?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it for some reason it switched to my phone off of my headset. No, I'll make it real quick. Hey, with your permission, and you and I kind of discussed it briefly the other night, for the first 100 people who donate to the GoFundMe, $50 or more, and it's easy to track because the names are right there. You can't go anonymous because we can't send books to anonymous. I guess we could, but I don't know where they'd go. But for the first 100 people, the Friends of Jonathan admin will buy those books and pray that you will sign them to those first 100 people that donate $50 or more to the GoFundMe. So that's 100 people that would make a huge difference in your effort. And that's really all I wanted to go to was two things. One, it helps push the book, and two, it furthers the effort to get you on the road.
Okay, so let's say this again. So for starting now, or are we going to go see? Because here's where I think people are going to get confused and maybe a little angry. I don't want people to get angry. There's been 400 people have donated to this cause, and which is interesting. Okay, folks, here's what you got to realize: 400 people have donated to the GoFundMe page. A little over 400 people. Actually, I'll tell you right now. Hold on 1 second, Jim.
413.
Yeah, so 413 people out of literally, if you put all my social media together, I have 60,000 people that follow me. So out of 60,000 people, now listen to this, only 490 donations have come through. 490, that's what I got.
490.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
490, just shy of 500, have donated $34,639 over the past year.
Yep.
If we had a quarter of the people that follow me, if we had everybody that follows this show right now, right now, I'm trying to show people that minimal effort, when a group comes together and they do minimal effort, it's pretty amazing. So just the Friends of Jonathan T. Gilliam page, which is like grown in the past couple of months, we got 3,000 people. If everybody donated $50, that's $150,000. I could go rent a studio somewhere. I wouldn't have to do this, and people could come to the studio. But I'm not concerned about that. Here's the thing. If people get together and they do this, we are going to be able to grow this to a point to where it's not just this simple little, this show, made out of metal with some TV and soundproofing. It's going to be something real. We are on the cusp, as Jim will agree with. We're on the cusp of something big. You can't turn TV on without once you realize the narrative, you can't turn the TV back on and watch it seriously, because that's the only thing you're going to see. There is no narrative here. There's no narrative.
Well, I think if you look at just over the past, let's say 6 weeks, the attention that your presence in media, the guest hosting that it caused, just the explosion on the Friends page, the explosion in different areas of look, you're getting more and more demand. People are talking to you.
Yeah,
you're getting more guest spots. That's what it takes, but it takes momentum, and momentum is money. Hey, that's what makes this thing work.
And the more momentum the more recognition this gets, we have a core group of people that tune in this show every night. But the more recognition we get, those core people, and I know who you are because I see you every night on this show, that core group of people will then become leaders of other core groups of people. It's just going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, just like last night, Jonathan, the group that contacted me that want to do a town hall with you.
Yeah.
That's a group of 200 people. They are vets. Everybody in that group is a veteran.
Where are they out of?
Well, they're kind of everywhere, but the gentleman, Dennis Reinhardt, is out of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And he's looking forward to you contacting him, by the way.
Yeah.
Announce that on a live show. But to get more to the point, my main emphasis was I want to do, and the group is more than willing to buy 100 books, and as soon as we meet that quota, hey, we're not bashful. I think you've noticed that. I think the people who follow this show and follow the group page, we're not bashful. If we sell those quickly, we sell those spots quickly for 100 books. I think you can sign a couple hundred books without much stress. We'll do another 100. We'll do what we need to do. It's about the momentum.
Right. Yeah. Here's the thing about the hardest part about this is getting your wallet out. The other part is going to be logistics of getting these books to you, which I learned a huge lesson, as I said before, with and we'll have this set up differently when because I can't handle. I got to set up a different email strictly for this, because what happens is, like, for instance, I hosted Sean Hannity's radio show last week, and when I got through with the show, I had gained almost 1,000 followers on Twitter, 500 people on Facebook, and I got hundreds of emails. Everything that was before that is it's too deep. I mean, it gets so lost. I don't think people understand the depth at which this show goes and how fast it's growing.
Oh, no, exactly. And that's what we have to realize, and those are the metrics, right?
Yeah. When
you host Hannity and Will Cow, I mean, the Friends page gains on general, whether it's one or both shows, and it just happened last week. You had kind of a double whammy. You had one day and one the next day, and then one back the following day. I mean, we gained a couple hundred followers on the Friends page. So it's about that momentum. It's about the voice. It's about getting that out there, and we'll set it up. We'll figure it out a way. It's easy to monitor the contributions.
Yeah.
I have no problem with going to, let's just say, to September 1st, even though today is the 7th. We'll go back to September 1st, and anybody that's donated $50 or more, their name will be collected. It'll be put into a list, and they will be part of that first 100 books. We'll count that toward the first 100 books. Starting September 1st going forward, I'd like to see it in the next, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Week. You pick it. It's your, at the end of the day, you're the commercial commodity here, and we're all trying just to support you, and that's all what this is about.
Now
the Friends page is absolutely to support you.
We have to throw Anya in there. She donated $49, but she's a vet, so we'll throw her a bone.
I saw that, and I anybody that's close. Okay, we'll say 39 or
No.
$48.
Let's stick with 50. I don't want to do that. We'll stick with 50.
Okay.
Let's not lower it because I don't want people taking advantage of that. Let's stick with 50. Yeah, one thing I definitely learned being in the teams and managing great people is that if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So,
absolutely, I agree.
This is their show.
I know you got to cut loose. So, anybody from the September 1st going forward for the next 100 people, and I'll get that in that email. That list will show up in the pinned on the Friends of Jonathan page. I'll start chronicling those names, and every one of those first 100 people will receive a personally signed, autographed edition of Jonathan's book when it comes out in December. Jonathan, you okay with that?
That sounds good.
All right. So everybody, $50 or more. We'll take 150. I love that. Doesn't mean you get 3 books. It means you get a book with a sign. But anybody that's anybody that's $50 or more going forward from September 1st, you're going to get a signed document or a signed book. And there may be some surprises come along with that. But we'll do the first 100, and then Johnson, you and I can talk about it, and we'll look see what we need to do after that.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
All right, my friend.
Good night, everybody.
You got it.
All right, brother.
Out.
Later.
All right, folks. There you go. Okay, so that should give you some incentive to donate. Again, only 490, just shy of 500 people have donated at all. Some people have donated $10, and if that's all you got, that's all you got. This isn't about who can donate more. The reason I chose 50 again is because I think that's a level where most people can hit one time. You can hit it. Even if you save up over the next couple of weeks and you donate $50 all at once, and it's very easy to donate, you go to the GoFundMe page. But again, you have to remember, this isn't about me getting on Easy Street. This is about us developing something. It's still growing. We're doing stuff that nobody else has done and is doing. They're still stuck on that freaking thing called the TV. I think that we need to be stuck more on this computer. Maybe eventually somehow we'll get the show on television. But the reality is, you really want to know the reality? I'll tell you what the reality is. 2 things about this show. 1, the experts that come on here. Not just me, but myself included. But the other thing is these chats. Nobody else does this, folks. Except people do social media stuff like this. But this isn't their focus. They're the focus. They want people to look at them. For me, I want you all to look at you all and listen to what we have to say. I don't care. The only reason I'm up here is so you have something to look at. But that's the reality of what this is. It's about the we, not the me. By the way, we don't take ourselves completely serious. I just wanted to show you what happens when your dog, my dog, Rico, wakes up in the middle of the night and tells me he wants to go outside, and he's acting like he's got to go out now, so I pick him up to rush him outside, and I kicked my scooter. That is my middle toe right there. How about that? What do you think? Is it broken? I don't know. Any doctors here? Look at that. There you go. Yeah, that just happened the night before last. Ouch. Is that TMI? You can tell me if that's TMI. See how clean my feet are? I learned that in Ranger School. Take care of your feet, people. All right. Let's close the show out. I did this earlier so I could get out of here and so you all could get out earlier. So let's do it. What's that? Yes. Trailer, please. I'm talking to my control room. Control room, can we play the trailer? How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
Yeah. This ain't no Teddy Washerman Schultz speaking. This is the real deal.
All right, folks. It's great having you guys at 8 o'clock. The numbers were lower than they have been, but that's okay. We'll get them back up. I like where this is going. I started the day out a little rocky today. It's one of those days where you wake up and you're like, I wish I could just go back to sleep. But it's worked out okay. I think this transition to 8 o'clock is going to be good. Make sure that you tell everybody I got to change all my memes. I changed my website today where it looks a little bit different. The book is on there. Look, I keep saying this. I just said it. I'm going to say it again. This is about the we, not the me. You see what's happening when I come on a slow news day where people are like, man, there's nothing on TV. That's because they're not reporting the reality of what's going on. They're talking about things that are going to get you going. The media, for some strange reason, believes that they have to have a salacious thing, a big thing. Oh, somebody's dying or there's a catastrophe or, something. I can't figure out, folks, if they do that because they're trying to gain people's attention and people like the shiny thing. I can't figure out if it's that or if it's the fact that they don't want you to see the reality of what's going on. Well, it doesn't matter anymore. You have this outlet. You're going to see the reality of what's going on. And if you know something that I don't know and you have an expertise that I don't have, we'll put you on this screen and you can tell people the reality of it. Dave Robinson has been through military training just like I have. But I've never faced a situation where I don't have a daughter, where I was carrying a daughter above my head through rushing floodwaters to get out of there. If people need to be informed, we'll inform them. If there's real news going on behind the scenes, I'm going to give it to you. Your job is to show up every night, to take part in the dialogue, get other people to come here, and to unify. That's your job. Funding this show is not your job. It's I don't want to make it sound like it's something that you have to continue to do. I use the funding as a good example of how much can be done if a few people do it together. I have always been disheveled in trying to figure out why everybody has a boss that they hate, and they don't get together and go to him, her, or the person above them and say, we are not going to put up with this anymore. There is power in numbers. And in this case, there is power in funding this show with just minimal effort. There's power in getting the truth out to people with a minimal effort. Let me do the heavy lifting. You show up. You be a part of this. You associate with each other. Carry out the dialogue. And unify. And if we have to go to a point of anything else, we will be unified. I'm Jonathan Gillum. My good buddy down there, Rico, is asleep, I hope, on the floor. I'll see you all tomorrow, 8 p.m. for the Friday Night Toast. Don't forget, I'm going to be on Newsmax tomorrow at 2 p.m. and then back here at 8. I'm Jonathan Gillum. This is The Experts. The truth has arrived. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.